We outside the playbook. I'm Jay. Got Ryan with me. Today we're going to be talking about some of the rule changes that have affected a lot of the NBA players this coming season, particularly James Harden and Trae Young, Luka, and so on and so forth. Maybe touch a little bit on what happened last night in Brooklyn while we're at it. Before we go into any content, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel. Slogan says that's one more for the good guys. What's going on, Fluke, man?
Nothing much. I'm excited to talk about what we got as far as content today, and I think it's good. I think it's something that definitely affects several players. I mean, you named just a few, but especially with this rule change, it affects a lot of players on the offensive end, especially those that have been used to getting to the line in let's just say unconventional ways.
Yeah, and starting with last night, I mean, perfect example of what's going on in the league as far as the rule change goes. There were, I counted in the first quarter. I was watching the game last night very closely. I counted in the first quarter, maybe the first 7 or 8 minutes, maybe 9 or 10 missed calls. It seems like there was a message behind last night's game, specifically in terms to the flopping. You have two of the biggest floppers in the NBA, and James Harden on one side and then Kyle Lowry on the other. And 9 times out of 10, they would get those calls. One, because they're vets. Two, because they know how to manipulate the rules in their favor. That's not happening too much anymore. If you look at the numbers for last night, really, it was just a game in favor of Miami. Miami goes 40% from the field. So does Brooklyn. 3-pointers, it was 8 to Brooklyn's 14. Free throw percentage, 22 to Brooklyn's 13. The battle was won on the boards. If you look at the rebounding numbers, there was 17 offensive to Brooklyn's 4, 62 in total to their 42. But if you look on the flip side, all right, you got Jimmy Butler with 14 rebounds. You got PJ Tucker with 7. You got Bam Adebayo with 9. You got Lowry with 6. Herro with 8. Dedmon with 9. Of those people that I named, there is only 2 players above the height of 6'9". Okay, now Bam Adebayo is barely a 6'10", so we'll give him that. But under 6'8", you got Jimmy 6'7", PJ Tucker 6'5", Lowry 6'3", Tyler Herro is 6'5", I believe. But everybody else, there's really no excuse why you should be getting beat up on the boards with that lineup size. 9 times out of 10, you were looking at a lineup of 4 guards and 1 big from Miami. Whereas you look at Brooklyn, all right, KD had 11 rebounds, James Harden had 7, but there was no sign of any energy, no effort, no extra output on defense. Blake Griffin, we talk about how he can't jump anymore and this, and that, and the other thing. Rebounding is an effort situation. You give up 17 boards offensively and you only finish the game with 4, and you're one of the tallest players on the court at all times. I think that's a problem. Now, I told you this in a couple episodes ago. If it's a situation where you're in a tight game and the battle comes down to toughness, you don't want to see the Miami Heat in a playoff series. What is your assessment of what took place last night in Brooklyn? The toughness, the mentality of Miami, the foul calls, the foul situation with Brooklyn. What story are you leaning towards as far as that game last night?
To me, I look at it as, and not to say that Miami didn't play well, but I think it was just a lack of effort on Brooklyn's part. That's how I'm taking it. Now, when we talk about rebounds, why is rebounding so important? That means extra, at the end of the day, it's extra possessions. Extra possessions, more opportunities to score. So, if you're getting beat on the boards, even by a mediocre offensive team, you're still giving them an incredible opportunity to be able to come in and win. And especially for a team like Brooklyn, last year, Brooklyn was one of the best offensive teams in the league. They're not really looking like themselves right now. Granted, it's earlier in the season, and James Harden is trying to get his feet underneath him, so to speak. But to me, it just came down to effort. I think you brought up a great point about Blake.
Yeah.
That's just a matter of effort. You're one of the taller players on the court. There's no reason why you should be in probably low single digits or mid single digits in terms of rebounding comparatively to where those other players on the other side of the court rank up as far as height goes.
Yeah, and let's be honest, okay? any team that's going against Miami, and it's one of those situation where the goal is to make the game as ugly as possible because that plays into Miami's favor. We understand that. So, I'll be fair to Brooklyn in that sense because that's not their strength. The game was dictated and the will was enforced by the Heat. Now, we're talking about the Nets and we're talking about the rule changes. Let's look at it from this perspective, okay? Since March of 2011 and 2012, James Harden has averaged above 5 free throws a game. Let me just double check to make sure I'm correct in how I'm saying this stat. So James Harden has gone 5 straight games with fewer than 5 free throws for the first time since March of 2011. Now, his numbers for the season, they're not terrible. I mean, if you're an average player in the league, you're not bothered by these stats. You're looking at James Harden, he's still putting up 16 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. I mean, I'm not bothered by those numbers. What I am bothered by is if you break his numbers down, he's getting the same amount of shots this year as he did last year, but he's making 2 less. Now, if you look at his free throw numbers, okay, he's shooting 4 less free throws than he did last year. Well, let's do the math on that, okay? Because those 4 free throws technically would be two foul calls in his favor, all right? 2 shooting foul calls in his favor. Now those count against him because those aren't foul calls, all right? So now you're looking at a situation where you're not only taking points from him, you're taking shot attempts. You're taking away made shot attempts from him. So his percentage looks worse than it really is. In my opinion, it's just a matter of him adjusting to not look for the contact, but just make the focus on getting to the basket, finishing strong. Because a lot of people have been hitting on this all day in the past couple of days that he's been looking and seeking out contact versus finishing. I really think that's the only adjustment. I mean, granted, the hamstring recovery and things like that was probably the focus this offseason, not pick up games at 5-on-5. I get it. But like I said, look at his numbers, 16, 7, and 8. He's relatively, maybe 4 or 5 extra free throws a night and 2 made baskets away from being at his career average of 25 points. So I'm not really concerned about that. My issue is just play the game, because if you weren't playing in an NBA setting, if you were playing pickup, you wouldn't be seeking out contact that way. So just play the game how you would normally play it, the way the refs are calling it. Just make the adjustment like you always do. You'll be perfectly fine. Looking at the young guys, okay? Now, when I say the young guys, I'm talking about the Zion Williamsons, Luka, Ja, Trey. One thing that was interesting to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people coming into the season, is a comment that Tyler Herro made. He said, I feel like Luka, Zion, Trey, Ja, I feel like I should be in that conversation. And my comments were this, okay? Whether that's true or not, I'm glad he feels that way. Because now that I know that you believe that, I know that I'm going to see on a nightly basis you come out and put forth that type of effort, that type of output as far as a star player should play as this. They should play as a Trae Young that can get 20 and 10, Luka Doncic that's a triple-double watch every night, Zion Williamson, a post powerhouse, 25 and 10 instantly. I should see that type of output from him. Now, if you look at his numbers coming to start this season, 21 points, 7.3 rebounds, and 4 assists. Well above his career averages, okay? Now, people do think that he may have struggled last year. I disagree from the standpoint of it wasn't as spectacular as his rookie season and the bubble season. But he has come out and he's defended his stance. For context, look at Luka, okay? Luka's at 23, 11, and 8. Luka's doing Luka-like things right around his career averages. But his team is losing games. I could make the argument that Tyler Herro, without Tyler's performance, Miami loses 2 out of the 3 games that they've won, especially against Milwaukee. The way he came out and inserted his will off the bench kept them afloat, because 9 times out of 10 they're losing that lead. That lead is going away very quickly once Chris Middleton and Giannis get into the flow of things. Trae Young's another person that was mentioned in that group. I look at Trae, 26, 3, and 9. I would say that Tyler, he most definitely belongs in the same sentence as him as it currently stands. Now, Ja Morant is on the pace for MVP as it stands right now between him and Steph Curry. After, way too early after week 1, I like Steph and Ja Morant as the leading guys. Ja's at 35 and 8.5. So typically you would say 18, 4, and 7 is Ja. So I believe Tyler can associate himself by putting out those numbers. He can associate himself in that conversation. Do you feel like he's backed up his claims at all? I mean, early in the season?
I mean, we look at the numbers early, I would say I can give him a bit of a nod. But I just go back to it's just still so early in the season. So to me, it's just going to come down to longevity. Now, mention Luka, Trae. I mean, I expect probably those numbers to get a little bit better, maybe, just knowing how they are, how they play. That's my expectation for those two. Ja really surprised me with what he's doing right now. It'll be interesting to see how long he's able to maintain something close to that. So he's kind of, for me, the only wild card that I really honestly wasn't expecting to perform that well. I mean, we all know that he's extremely, extremely talented, but he really came out the gate doing a lot better than what I just would have expected. I think thus far, I can give a nod to Tyler for sure, but I'm just not ready to say, hey, you belong in that conversation definitively. Let me see what you look like in December. Let me see what you look like in January. Then I'll be more willing to say,
well,
maybe.
Well, let's look at it like this. I can say something about Tyler that I can't say about Ja, Zion, Luka, nobody else. I can tell you what Tyler looks like in June and July. I can tell you what he looks like in the NBA Finals and in the conference finals. That's one thing that I feel like gets lost in the shuffle. People talk about everybody, all these group of guys, and how talented they are and how great they are. We've only seen them in the regular season. We've seen Tyler put up a 30-point performance in the playoffs, in the conference finals, in the NBA finals, on the biggest stage of them all. Now, however you feel about Miami being in NBA finals, doesn't really matter. He got there and he performed. What I will say about that is he's in a situation where he's coming off the bench. And it's not because of a talent situation. He's coming off the bench because of the necessity to have Duncan Robinson in the starting lineup for that team, because you have Jimmy, Bam, you need the floor space a little bit for them to operate. So that's why Tyler's coming off the bench, and he's acting as a backup point guard. So technically he could be, if he was to have starter minutes, or be in the starting lineup and play as much as Ja or Luka and have as much control over the ball as they do, I do think he can put up those numbers. And that's the other thing we consider when we look at the usage rate on the team. I would like to think maybe he's fourth behind Bam, Jimmy, and Kyle. So I think he's making a claim early in the season. Is it a strong enough claim to say that this is how it's going to be for several years down the line? I don't know, because you still have the factor of him having the fourth most control over the offense and the defense. But I will say that man is a killer. That boy is a killer. Look, late in game situations, I'll put it like this. If I'm on defense and he's coming down with the ball, I'm concerned. He has a little fear that he strikes into people now. After seeing it, this is his third year. We're seeing it. He strikes a little bit of fear in some teams now. He gets the same respect that you see teams give Jimmy. As far as the Miami Heat goes, he gets the same respect that teams give Jimmy and Duncan and Kyle and Bam. He's a threat. So he does have the respect amongst his peers. But as far as in the grand scheme of the future of the NBA, I'd say he's a tier below, but he's starting to scratch and claw his way into that top tier. We've already talked about the Brooklyn Nets game last night. Tonight on the slate, we have Golden State versus the Grizzlies. How do you feel about? I mean, we're seeing an early season matchup between my two early favorites for the MVP, John Morant and Stephen Curry. How do you feel about these two coming out of this game?
I think it's going to be a good performance from both. I'm looking forward to possibly seeing Golden State assert themselves, especially since they got ousted by the Grizzlies last season. So I think they may be coming in with a little.
That was a fluke. That was such a fluke.
A chip on the shoulder, so to speak. I just think, for whatever reason, last season it just didn't work out in Golden State's favor. I mean, I thought they had a great opportunity to be.
Steph was gassed.
Hey, I mean,
Steph was gassed. That's all it was.
It was just like, come on, But hey, it is what it is. But I do think the Golden State, like I said, the Warriors will be looking to reassert themselves. I think that they could, I think they're coming out with a little bit of, you could say, something to prove a little bit. I'm pretty sure they're probably still feeling that loss. So I'm expecting the Warriors to come out with a win. The only way that they lose, in my opinion, is just if the turnovers get the best of them tonight and they're just careless with the ball, because I think the Grizzlies definitely will take advantage of that. I think if they lose this game, that's probably going to be the reason is if they get too careless.
Yeah, I agree. One person that I do want to see be a lot more efficient is Jordan Poole. I feel like, preseason kind of went to his head a little bit. He started getting careless right out the gate with the first couple games. I want to see him be a little more efficient with his opportunity. Whether he's, I'll just say it like this. I'm tired of Andrew Wiggins. I'm tired of watching this dude. Look, you're getting paid a lot of money, $100 million. All right, plus. We shouldn't be guessing or trying to figure out what your output or what type of game you're gonna have. If you're in that bracket, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, makes the comment like, it's not about the money. No. The money determines how much a team values and what they see from you or what they expect to see from you. All right. He's in the bracket where we expect to see 15 to 20 guaranteed every single night. We look, his salary says, okay, we look at you the same way we view a CJ McCollum. All right. When Steph doesn't have the ball, the next best option is to give it to you. We don't have that. We don't have that expectation out of him on a nightly basis. So, I mean, they're going to be good. They're going to be talented. They're going to get wins, but that's not going to be enough once you get to the playoffs and people talk about, wait till Steph gets back. I'm excited. I can't wait to see him, but you still got to keep in mind, he hasn't played in 2 years. You have to let him get back into shape to be able to provide the type of output that you want to see from him. So until that happens, you got to expect that, Wiggins can carry some of that load, and he just hasn't done it for me. I expect him to have, a decent game tonight. I think he does have a favorable matchup considering that Dillon Brooks is not playing again. So I expect him to have a favorable matchup, maybe get you 10 to 15. I'm hoping he gets you 10 to 15. But if he doesn't, it'll just be another typical no-show night for Andrew Wiggins. A big night ahead for Steph, I'm hoping. John Morant, one thing I'll say about him, he's playing well early in the season. The game against the Lakers could have been a classic performance on his part if he knocks down that one free throw to send it to overtime. He doesn't do that. They lose the game. I think that's my only mark against him so far in the season. I love what he's doing. Like I said, 35 and 8.5. I look for him to have a big night tonight. It's going to be a clash. And I can't wait to see it. That's going to be a wrap for us. We'll be back on Tuesday. Then next Thursday, we're going to try to keep it going, be on a consistent schedule, put out as much content as we possibly can. Like I said, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel. Y'all know the slogan. That's one more for the good guys.